Hi, it's Lori with Elga Credit Union, working with you to become financially fit. Today, we're going to talk about the topic of transportation. Transportation is one of those debates. Is it an asset or isn't it? Well, today I'd like to explain a little bit more about transportation. I wouldn't say a vehicle would be an appreciating asset, which means it depreciates. The more you drive it, the less it's worth. However, transportation is a productive asset. Transportation can help get you where you need to go and therefore help you to build your other assets. For example, if you only have transportation that can get you so far, you're limited on the jobs that you can take. But when you have a car, you're able to get to your job and be able to potentially have a lot more options as far as what that job could be. If you'll follow along on your worksheet, I'd like to go over what options you do have for transportation. Why don't you write in a few options that you have available to you? Okay, some of those options might be walking, you have your feet. How about a bike? You could take your bike to work. What about a bus or a monorail for those people who plan someday to live in Chicago or New York City? They might not need a vehicle. What about rideshare? If you have a job that's maybe 45 minutes or more away, you might have a pool lot where you leave a car and take the rideshare option. And finally, your own personal car. In the next section of your worksheet, we're going to talk about, is it safe? Is it reliable? And is it affordable? Let's talk about safety first. Let's think about all of those measures that go into the mode of transportation you plan on using after you get your first job. Will you use the bus? If so, you need to think about safety of the time of day when leaving and getting back from the bus stop, as well as the time that you're just standing there waiting for the bus to appear. If you're taking a monorail, same type of a thing, all those safety measures. Are you going to be safe from point A to B? If you're walking or riding a bike, is it safe to do so in the times that you'll be walking or riding that bike to and from work? And the same thing with all of those modes of transportation you plan to use. The next thing we want to think about is reliability. Is your mode of transportation reliable if you're borrowing it? For a lot of people, they're using a shared vehicle with a spouse, with a friend, with maybe parents, siblings, things like that. If you get a job and you're sharing a car with several siblings, they probably also need the car for different items. They could need it for their work, for their practice, for school. And will that vehicle be available to you for the exact hours of the day that you would need it? Okay, the last part of this section is talking about affordability. If you chose the option of having a bus, and that is the affordable transportation for you, the total cost of a bus pass, at least in Genesee County, is $52. You would want to go to figure out with the Mass Transportation Authority or the type of bus system you're going to use and make sure that you know what the monthly bus pass is or the daily rate if you choose that option. It is much cheaper to have a monthly pass than the daily rate if you're going to use it 5 or more days a week. Another thing you want to think about is if you chose the option of a vehicle, all of the things that go into that payment. A lot of people think about their vehicle transportation just being a payment to a bank or a credit union, but what they don't accumulate into that figure is how much it's going to cost them on a weekly basis for the gas for that vehicle or even the car insurance. Car insurance can be different depending on what type of a vehicle, how new or how old, all of those things. And the last thing on affordability are the maintenance items for that vehicle. Is it something that's going to be breaking down often, or is it going to be reliable for you and you won't have to have a lot of maintenance on that? What about the normal maintenance for that vehicle that you've chosen? Do you have the money to put away on a monthly basis for your maintenance repairs, such as new tires every so many years? What about things like brakes and windshield wipers and oil changes and all those things tend to add up, and we don't think about that when we're thinking about the affordability of a car. Now, you will want to make sure that you can afford all of those things before you pay for and choose that vehicle. Next, let's talk about the monthly expenditures for transportation. Let's say that each of you have the ability to make $2,000 a month. That would be your monthly income. And you can figure out what that would cost you monthly at a 10% or 15% of your income. So you'll take the $2,000 times 0.10 for the car payment, or $2,000 times 0.15. Most people are able to spend about 25% of their income on housing and 15% of their income on transportation. However, when there are student loan payments, credit card payments, and other things like that that are there to pay for, that amount that you can spend on the vehicle does go down to maybe 10 or less percent. So the best thing to do is not get into debt. What is a lemon? A lemon is a vehicle that you purchase that maybe drove when you test drove it, but when you get it back home, it doesn't drive so great and problems start happening to where you have to sink in money and more money into this vehicle. That's a lemon. Now, I'm not saying years down the road, that's normal maintenance for a car when things start happening, but right after the purchase, things start going wrong right away. That is a lemon. You might be wondering, how do I keep myself from purchasing a lemon? Well, the way to do that is to check the Carfax prior to purchasing that car. Let me give you a little bit of an idea how to do that. You would just want to go to Carfax.com. It does cost you money, but it could be saving you thousands of dollars if that car you are about to buy isn't in great repair. So a few things you will be able to look at on the Carfax would be, first of all, knowing if that vehicle has been in any accidents. If so, it will show you the accident, the date of the accident, and what happened, maybe even show you a company on that Carfax report of exactly what was done to the car. It'll tell you if it was totaled and now the car is in good repair. Well, you'll know that probably somebody has went through and fixed some of those things. Now, after an accident, that might be a good thing and it might not be. That's something you should know ahead of time and be aware about. Also, if a car's been in an accident and somebody's fixed it up, it might not be worth the actual book value of that vehicle because it has been in an accident. It should be being sold for a lot less. Things like that are good to know. In addition to that, you'll also be able to see if the oil has been changed with a reputable oil change company. That could be the dealership, a Valvoline, or any type of oil change company on there, and you'll see how often. If you see that the oil was changed once every 2 years, is that probably a good thing? No. You want to make sure that the vehicle's oil has been changed every few months or every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, depending on if they were using regular oil or synthetic oil. That's things that you should know about a car before purchasing. So getting that Carfax to make sure you understand. There are other tools I'd like to tell you about which might help you understand what a car's value is worth. One of those might be NADA and another KBB. NADA is a system, the NADA system helps you to understand left book, right book, median value, and the left book value would be more like a auction value, maybe the lowest if it was in real fair condition. Median value might be a private party sale price if it's been in good condition. And the far right book value may be what you'd expect to pay at a car dealership. KBB is kellybluebook.com. They will also be able to show you the same exact thing. If you look at NADA or Kelley Blue Book, they'll have a little bit different pricing, but they should be in the same ballpark. And this will help you to see. Now, if you're buying at a dealership, they're able to sell it for more because that is how they make their money. And they've probably purchased a vehicle with lower mileage at auction and things like that. A lot of the cars that they get as trade-ins that have higher miles are sold at auction, and those are usually sold at different types of lots, not at a car dealership, maybe at a smaller buy here, pay here car lot. Those are a little different. So when you're getting the lower mileage cars, those are probably going to last you longer. The ones that have the higher mileage, they're going to have more that could go wrong with them. There's pros and cons to both. Probably the higher mile cars are the things that are able to be a little more affordable, whereas the lower miles aren't. You'll have to take all of that into consideration as you decide which car would be best for you. Next, let's talk about the price. So you'll see on this example, the vehicle purchase price is going to be $6,500. You're going to put $500 down as your down payment, and you're going to get a loan for the other $6,000. Something you might not be thinking about as you think about the price of a vehicle is that you also have to pay sales tax on that vehicle. So if you bought a car for $6,500, you actually need to figure out what the sales tax is. So for example, if you're in the state of Michigan, purchasing a car in Michigan, that sale was $6,500 times 0.06. That will give you the amount that you owe for the sales tax. In addition to that, after putting the $500 down on the car and paying the sales tax, you're getting a loan, let's say for $6,000. If you'll look at the example, you'll see that the payment for a 4-year loan at 6% interest on this $6,000 loan will be a payment of $140.93. Somebody who is paying this off after 4 years, if you look at the column where it shows you the interest, would have paid $764.54 over the span of 4 years in interest. So the total payments on that vehicle would be the $6,000 you owed or borrowed plus the $764.54. That is exactly how much would be paid. I'm only showing you this so that you can kind of see on a basis of a loan what it looks like, how much is going to the principal loan and how much is going to the interest. So if the original balance was $6,000 on payment 1, $140.93 was paid. The $6,000 balance doesn't just reduce itself by $140. It reduces itself by the amount that goes to the loan, that is called the principal, $110.35, but interest is also paid as well. So the balance doesn't go down by $140. Does that make sense to you? If you'll look at that all the way down to payment 48, let's look at the last payment, $140.83 is paid. $140.12 went to principal and 71 cents went to interest with a remaining balance of 0. So after the 48th payment, you now own the car. It is yours free and clear, and the lending company would sign off on the title, and that would now be your vehicle, and you own it without a lien. A lien is on the vehicle until that loan is paid in full. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of an understanding on how loans would work for a vehicle. Finally, let's talk about what would happen if you didn't make those payments. So if we took out $6,000 and we owed $140 and some change every single month on that car, and we chose not to make the payment, not because we didn't want to, but because we couldn't. Let's say we didn't work for a while, we were sick, something happened. What would happen is the lending institution will come after that vehicle because they have a lien on it. So if you ever get in a situation where you can't make a payment on a loan, you want to make sure to have good communication with the lending company. If you don't, there's this horrible word that happens, and it's called repossession. When that happens, a repossession truck is able legally to come and take that vehicle, and by the state of Michigan laws, you have 10 days to what's called redeem that vehicle. Pay the vehicle off in full plus the tow for the repossession. That can get quite expensive. So if you don't have the money to pay the vehicle off in full plus pay the tow fees, obviously that's not going to happen. You lose the vehicle. You're still going to owe the balance on the car after it's sold at auction. At auction, it will be sold for less than probably your balance. So the best thing to do is if you ever take out a loan, make sure to make those payments on time every single month. And if any mishap happens where you're unable to make a payment, the best thing to do is to have good communication with your lender. Repossession is something that most people don't want to deal with, but it's something you need to be knowledgeable about so that you understand what would happen. That's all for the transportation section today. I hope that you've learned a few things, whether it be on the Carfax, the NADA, Kelley Blue Book, or even a little on loans. Transportation is in your future. It's probably something that you're going to deal with, and we want to make sure you're knowledgeable about all of those areas. That's it for today. We thank you for having more financial fitness with Lori from Elga Credit Union. Make it a great day.
We're Elga Credit Union.